Hello, I'm Dr. Nicholas. I'm a GP based in London and I'm also the founder of a longevity clinic. So today I want to talk about a study that was released just a couple of weeks ago in June, which is a meta-analysis study that compared the old school dietary restriction with two of the newer medications such as metformin and rapamycin, and they looked at which might be most effective in increasing lifespan. I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you'll know which strategy really moves the needle on lifespan in vertebrates, what that means for humans, and where the science still has some gaps. So let's talk about dietary restriction first of all, also known as DR. This means eating fewer calories without malnutrition. For over a century, it has shown to reliably lengthen lifespan in everything from worms to primates. So why look for mimetics? Well, long-term calorie cutting is brutally hard, and if you try to do it yourself without any training, you also run the risk of getting malnourished, which is why I always advise that you do it with help from a dietitian, a nutritionist, or a doctor who has been trained in nutrition. So if a pill could flip the same molecular switches as dietary restriction, but without the risks and difficulties, then the adherence would shoot up and everyone would benefit from an improved lifespan. So in order to do this, the scientific community have found two potential contenders. The first one is rapamycin. This medication is currently licensed as an immunosuppressant, so it's given in organ transplant patients to prevent their own body from rejecting the transplanted organ. So, for example, in a kidney transplant patient, they would receive rapamycin, and this ensures that the graft can survive for a very long period of time. It's of course prescription only, and it can come with quite significant side effects, but we'll talk a bit more about side effects later on. The second contender is metformin. Now, this is also the world's most used diabetes drug, and it works indirectly in a similar way to rapamycin at a molecular level, but through slightly different targets. So let's talk a bit more about the study itself. This meta-analysis, which is the highest level of research that you can do, so it's above randomized control trials and systematic reviews, um, involved collating and analyzing different papers. So they looked at 167 different papers across 8 vertebrate species. However, the majority, so almost 80% of the test subjects were lab mice. But there were also rats, fish, and a few studies looked at dog lifespan expansion. But importantly, there were no human studies. So the researchers asked two core questions. Um, First was, does dietary restriction still work when we pull all the different species together, or does it only work in certain species? And secondly, is that do rapamycin or metformin copy those same benefits? So they analyzed the data by crunching both the median and the mean lifespan data and corrected for any potential biases, such as publication bias, and they also excluded very small studies which may have skewed the data in either direction. So we know that the data they use is of the highest quality possible. So the conclusion was that dietary restrictions still remain the gold standard. And across the board, across all of the species, dietary restriction extended lifespan by roughly 17%. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but there was always an extension in the positive direction. When they averaged everything together, rapamycin also boosted lifespan by about 20%, so very comparable to dietary restriction. With metformin, however, they found that the results were a bit underwhelming. It showed lifespan improvement in some studies, but on average, they found there was no significance between taking metformin or a placebo. This was quite disappointing for the researchers who theorized that metformin could increase lifespan to the same level as dietary restriction. But what do we already know about the potential side effects of both rapamycin and metformin? Well, in the press lately, Brian Johnson, who you might know as one of the longevity gurus, and he's also got a Netflix show, um, he took metformin at various doses for the past 5 years, and he finally concluded in January this year that the benefits do not outweigh the side effects he was getting. So some of these side effects include recurrent skin infections, mouth ulcers, glucose elevation, and abnormalities in the lipid levels, as well as increased heart rate at rest. These are all known and well documented side effects of rapamycin, but the medication will affect everyone in different ways, so it's not possible to predict who will tolerate it and who wouldn't. Metformin, on the other hand, is a medication with a much better side effect profile. Its main side effect is that it can cause sometimes nausea or stomach issues, but these are often mild. And most of the side effects resolve is if you switch from the immediate release formulation to a modified release formulation, which is what we always do in primary care. If someone who is started on metformin for diabetes complains of intolerable side effects and would like an alternative. There is also currently an ongoing trial called the TAME trial, which is looking at whether metformin does have an effect on increasing lifespan, but there are no results from this as of yet. So anyway, out of the two, rapamycin is the more dangerous medication, so to speak, as it can cause more significant side effects. So any off-label use would require proper medical supervision. So what are some practical take-home messages from this study? Well, dietary restriction has been confirmed to work again, which is what we already knew. So if you can sustain a 10 to 30% calorie reduction or a well-structured intermittent fasting plan, then your longevity odds should improve. I would recommend starting with a dietitian or getting in contact with your family doctor first to avoid running the danger of malnutrition, which can easily happen if you cut out certain foods from your diet or if you don't have enough food intake. Rapamycin is promising, but still experimental, and our early human data says it's safe at low intermittent doses, but we still lack long-term morbidity or mortality endpoints in healthy patients. So it wouldn't be a medication I recommend at the moment until we get more data to support its benefits in extending lifespan. Metformin remains a great diabetes drug, but it's not a universal longevity hack. And unless you're insulin resistant, the evidence for lifespan gain is still weak. But hopefully the TAME trial, which should come out, the results of which should come out in the next few years, may clarify this. One thing is certain in that basic pillars like movement, sleep, and a low inflammatory diet, specifically the Mediterranean diet, which is the most studied diet with regards to longevity and social connection, they deliver the highest benefit to risk ratios. So, those lifestyle changes would be the first port of call if you want to increase your longevity and have a healthier lifespan. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.